The National Governors Association has been conducting policy academies for a number of years now, and it's not unlike what you're talking about with these different issues that have come up and you're having conversations with around the region. An issue comes up that's subject matter, they hold a policy academy, they select states to be involved with that particular issue. And then through a facilitated process by them, they try to work towards resolving or find solutions, etc. This particular policy academy on grid modernization came out fall of last year. Kentucky made application along with a number of other states, and as Barry said, 4 states were selected to participate in this year's policy academy. The other 3 states that were selected was Rhode Island, Washington, and Oregon. And all 4 states have different issues that they're trying to look at through this broad category of grid modernization. And I apologize to the folks in the room who've heard this spiel, because we've been holding some of these meetings for the last few months, and some of you are going to hear a lot of repeat of what I've already talked to you about. So please bear with me. And as Barry said, this is intended to be a conversation, so feel free to interrupt me, and if a question comes up on something I talk about. So Rhode Island has 1 utility, and it's a small state, 1 million people, I think. Their issue is more about how they can structure things like electric vehicles into their grid and building resiliency and so forth. Oregon and Washington have some different issues, but their main issue was about a geologic event that's overdue to occur off their western coast that would create a major seismic event followed by potentially a tsunami that could take out their infrastructure, both electrical, bridges, and so on. And so they're starting to try to figure out how they can island their grid and or restore it in a manner if they should have such an event. And in all likelihood, it will happen. They're along the same subduction zone and fault pattern that comes into the San Andreas, and so there's just a seismic prone area. For Kentucky, our issues were more about we were beginning to see a lot of things happening nationwide, but started to see things happen in Kentucky with distributed generation, whether that would be solar, anaerobic digesters, small hydro plants, biomass facilities were being discussed and starting to pop up, and we were thinking that this was a timely time to start the conversation, just as we're doing today, about how we can make these type of changes in our grid that will work, keep us reliable, and not affect how we do our business in the state as far as electric and low-cost electric. So we have a lot of different challenges in our environment. We've got one of the most complex electrical environment in the country. In fact, it's pretty unique. We not only have investor-owned utilities, cooperatives, munis. We've got 3 different markets that we're in: PJM, MISO, TVA. All of which makes us very unique, and we're a regulated state. And that's important because that's our box, and what we do within our box will affect one thing or the other. So part of this is trying to understand that and bring everyone to a level that will create an environment for an educated conversation. We have a lot of different customer needs that we want to meet. We have companies that are pursuing alternatives, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We've got a net metering debate that's been ongoing, and we can talk a little bit more about that. And we've got this huge manufacturing base in the state that requires low-cost energy, and that has been fueled for 100 years or more of our coal-fired plants. But there's a lot of things going on with the market. It's changing, and there's lots of changes. This is a really exciting time to be in this industry, and it's created lots of challenges, but yet there's exciting things going on. And one of the bigger challenges, like I said, is a lack of literacy within energy, because, and this is part of the hope that I have with coming out of this policy academy, if nothing else, we bring the level up to where all the stakeholders understand the ramifications of everything that happens in our box. If you do something and it reduces load, then it's going to affect the rates of the people that are the ratepayers. And so those kind of things have to be understood, and all those ramifications as we make decisions as we move forward. So the timing is right for the conversation, as is your meeting today. This is a great opportunity to explain what we're doing, because we've started this conversation about energy innovation and more particularly how distributed generation might work in our state. And Kevin Butt with Toyota said it, and I use this quote because this is really kind of what it's all about for us in this policy academy, is if we don't have it in our system, then companies are going to do it themselves. And that has very ramifications that could be detrimental. So we've got a bunch of companies that operate in this country, in this state. Here's just an example of 4 that have all got renewable goals, and they are making changes to how they do their business. And a lot of it has to do with being decarbonized, but most of it has to do with the fact they want to control their costs. And that's just like any good business. If you're looking at your budget and you're looking at things, whether it's anything along your supply chain, you're always looking to be able to control those costs. And with energy, that's one of their biggest costs. And so they're looking for ways to how they can control their costs, and I don't blame them. That's just energy is, and the cost of energy is going to probably continue to increase over time, and if you can control it, and they believe that if they can control it by the way of whether it's renewable or some type of distributed generation, which technology now enables industry to do, then they're going to do it because they could control their long-term cost. This will give you kind of an idea of what's happening now already in the state. People think we don't have any renewable projects going on in the state. Well, that's not true. We have a lot of operating facilities already. We've got a number of hydroelectric dams along the Ohio River. We've got a number of solar projects that are already built, but we've got a lot of proposals. The little triangles are proposed. The yellow ones are solar projects that are proposed. There are a number of, we have 6, I think 7 now operating landfill gas projects in the state. So a lot of these things are going on, and most people don't know that that's actually out there. So how will they affect our system, and how will we deal with the ramifications of it? So this policy academy is designed to bring everybody together, and we've already met with 4 different groups. Technically, I guess you could call them meeting with the 5th group here, but 4 different groups. The first group was our utility group. We met with all the utilities. We talked to them about this project, told them what our concerns were, how we'd like to move forward, like to have them involved in the conversation. They said they wanted to be part of the conversation. We met with our large industrial users, commercial users. Obviously, their concern is low rates. They need to have low energy rates to be competitive. Kentucky has the lowest rates east of the Mississippi, and it's made us a very strong manufacturing state as a result of that. We met with more of a public group that was kind of varied between developers of projects, public advocacy groups, and so on and so forth, and got their views. And all of these different groups have all said they want to be part of this conversation and thanked us for having it, because they do see it as a timely time to do it. So we're moving on with the conversation. If there's folks in the room that would like to be involved in this, please I'll leave a stack of cards and you can send me your name and we'll put you to the list. The last group we met with was an in-state team group that was composed of the various agencies that are some way related to energy, whether it be, we had some folks from the natural resources who are the mining and oil and gas folks. We had the Public Service Commission, obviously, my office, wastewater, University of Kentucky. We invited the College of Engineering. They're doing a lot of things on energy in their Peak Institute. So all of those people were at another outreach group meeting, and so we've reached out now to quite a number of people. I see quite a few in here in this room that have already been to this, heard this. How you doing, man? So that's kind of where we are with this process at this point. We've met these various folks. We're going to go on with this conversation. We will have a larger public stakeholder meeting sometime in the fall, or I think around August. We'll start bringing everybody together, and in between we may do some cross meetings with these smaller groups again, we're trying to raise the level of understanding on how things work in our regulated box. Now, we don't have the answers, and we don't have an agenda. It's all more about having the conversation, and if we find answers and we find solutions, then we can figure out how to do that. Some of the things that have been talked about that have come up in our in-state conversations have been some of these things like what I'm showing up here. And I'm not an expert on any of these. I could tell you the basics about them, but some of our utility folks in the room know what these are. But a power purchase agreement, which basically allows for a utility to meet with the customer and say, all right, I can work out an agreement with you to supply you with cheap wind out of the Midwest at a price. A green tariff is a little more broader type of thing that's done through the Public Service Commission. It allows a utility to work within certain rules to place. It really kind of cuts to the chase of what's in a PPA, but then so it facilitates a PPA for a particular customer. But the nice thing about a green tariff is it can be utilized by anybody. Once you have a green tariff in place, then anybody can utilize it working with their utilities. And that's the nice thing about a green tariff too, is it keeps your utility in the center of the deal. And that's important in Kentucky because we are a regulated state and nobody can sell power to anybody unless they're a utility. So we have to understand that. So there's a couple of attractive things about a green tariff. That number one, it sends a signal to the rest of the world out there that we are not willing to work with you on your renewable goals. We have a green tariff in place, we'll work with you. And it keeps the utility in the center of the conversation because they have to ultimately sell the power. So that's a, as I'm learning about possible solution, that's one that keeps kind of popping up and I think has some validity for Kentucky. An avoided cost solution or performance-based leasing, those type of things are also being discussed and bandied about. So we like I said, we the cabinet are conducting this with as many folks that want to be involved in it, but we don't have a set agenda, and if solutions come out of it, then and a utility wants to take something to the PSC to get a green tariff approved, that's great, and that works. If that's what we see as needed, or if there's something legislatively that needs to be done, then we're open for that. But again, that would be something that would be agreed upon and hopefully understood and by all the stakeholders involved in who's going to be affected by it. That's really what my message was for this morning, was to tell you about this Policy Academy and what we're working on. We believe it will lead to a level of education that everyone that's involved in energy will come to appreciate and understand the ramifications of any move towards distributed generation.